The wind carried a dry whistle across Fort Claymore, a sprawling Army training installation tucked between the Colorado foothills and a sky that always seemed too wide. Dust hissed along the concrete, swept by morning gusts that rattled loose metal siding and fluttered range flags. It was barely 05:30, yet platoon after platoon moved like dark silhouettes in the pale blue dawn. Among them walked Private First Class Mara Dalton, the quiet one. Too quiet, according to her squad. Her steps were light, deliberate, almost surgical. Her rifle hung against her chest in a setup that made heads tilt and eyebrows rise. A slim profile, minimal attachments, paracord reinforcement, not the standard trainee setup, and that was the problem. As the platoon reached range 19, the whispering started again. The girl with the weird rifle, "Yo, Dalton," Specialist Kruger called out, loud enough for the other privates to hear. "You building a rifle or knitting a sweater with all that paracord?" A few laughed. Mara kept walking. "Seriously," another voice chimed in. "What even is that setup? Who runs iron sights and a taped pressure pad? You cosplaying as an operator or what?" Mara gently set her ruck down. No reaction. Her fingers moved to her sling, adjusting the tension, quick, methodical, practiced. Kruger stepped closer, smirking. "You think that little tactical build makes you special? You ain't even qualified yet." Still, silence. This quietness frustrated them more than any comeback could have. Her squad wanted noise. Mara gave them precision. Instructor staff glanced over from their station, but this was normal. New platoons always found someone to target. Some did it to feel bigger, some out of boredom, some out of insecurity, but Mara wasn't giving them anything. She never did, and on this base, that kind of silence made people curious, or irritated. A past nobody could read before enlistment, Mara Dalton had been a ghost. No social media, no family visiting during reception days, no gossip, no stories told around bunks, just a thin woman with sharp eyes and an unshakable calm. Not the kind typically mocked, not the kind who ever seemed threatened. But she did bring one thing with her, a way of handling a rifle that looked like second nature. Not arrogant, not flashy, just different. And soldiers hate different. So speculation grew. She's ex-cop. She washed out of something elite. Nah, she's probably just watched too many war movies. But the truth sat far from every rumor, and Mara wasn't talking. Morning tension at range 19. The drill sergeant overseeing the range today was Staff Sergeant Brenner, hard-edged, sharp-tongued, and allergic to excuses. The man could make a recruit sweat from 100 meters away. He called the platoon to formation. "Today's marksmanship eval is simple," Brenner barked. "You shoot well, you continue training. You shoot like trash, you retest. You fail again, you go home." Some swallowed hard. Mara didn't. She just watched the horizon, breathing slow, steady. But Brenner's eyes drifted to her rifle. He blinked once, just once. Then his brow furrowed. Mockery builds. During staging, Kruger leaned toward her again. "Bet $50 she can't hit the broadside of a hangar with that museum setup." Another soldier snickered. "You see her sling? Who ties knots like that? She looked like she's prepping for arts and crafts." Someone else chimed in. "Those ranger rolls on her straps. Who taught her that? YouTube?" More laughter. Mara loaded her magazine without a word. The jabs were predictable by now. Background noise. But this time, one soldier crossed the line. Private Mills walked up and flicked her rear sight. "You know optics exist, right? This isn't World War II." Mara didn't flinch, didn't react, didn't even blink differently. She just restored her sight, slow and controlled. Brenner noticed the rough contact. Private Mills. His voice cracked like a whip. Mills froze. "Touch someone's weapon again, and you will be the one cleaning this range with a toothbrush." Mills backed off quickly. Mara offered no gratitude, not even a glance, just silence. That bothered people the most. A tall, older man arrived, gray streak in his beard, calm stride, soft eyes. He wore the black vest and headset of a senior marksmanship instructor. Master Sergeant Cade Harlan, a legend on the range, the kind of man whose presence quieted rooms without him saying a word. He walked down the line, checking each trainee's weapon handling. When he reached Mara, he stopped. Really stopped. The entire formation went quiet. Kruger grinned, expecting humiliation. Maybe Harlan would lecture her. Maybe he'd rip her setup apart. But instead, Harlan crouched, looked over every inch of her rifle. Then he whispered, "Only for her." "Where'd you learn this?" Mara kept her tone flat. Home, Sergeant. Harlan's eyes narrowed. Not suspicious, more analytical. You run minimalist, paracord anchor points, taped pressure pad, rear iron sight elevated for rapid drop transitions, sling tension tight for corner turns. That's... He paused, then whispered something only Kruger, closest to them, barely caught. Only Rangers train like that. Kruger's smirk fell immediately. Harlan straightened, his expression unreadable. Not impressed, not disapproving, just aware, and the entire squad felt it. Something about Private Mara Dalton was not what it seemed. Control, breath, fire. When it was time for the live fire qualification, trainees rotated onto the firing line in groups of 5. Mara didn't rush, didn't fidget, didn't hype herself up. She walked like someone who'd done this in a different lifetime. Kruger leaned toward his friends. Watch her fail. Watch her. But the moment Mara dropped into firing position, all mocking stopped. Her posture was flawless, her shoulders set, her cheek weld was natural, her breathing, not ragged like the others, not tense, not rushed, just controlled. Shooter ready? Ready. The first target popped up at 50 meters. Mara's shot cracked before anyone else even steadied their rifles. The next appeared and fell, and the next, and the next. Not hurried, not panicked, not mechanical, just precise, unapologetically precise. Her grouping was tight, her transitions seamless, her reload instinctive. Even Brenner stopped yelling. Even the wind seemed to quiet around her. By the time she hit the 300-meter target, most of the platoon had outright stopped firing. They were too busy watching. She didn't just qualify. She demonstrated mastery, quiet mastery. After the qualification ended and scores came out, whispers swirled. Dalton shot expert? No way! She outshot the whole platoon. She beat even the prior service guys. Kruger approached her, unsure for once. Hey, Dalton, where'd you learn to... But before he finished, Sergeant Brenner cut in. Dalton, with me. She followed him behind the instructor's tower. Waiting there was Master Sergeant Harlan. He didn't smile, didn't posture, just spoke. You used to shoot competitively? He asked. No, Sergeant. You trained privately? No, Sergeant. Someone teach you? Mara hesitated. Not long, but enough to answer him. My brother. Harlan nodded slowly. Military? She looked away. Not anymore. Something heavy sat behind those words. Something quiet. But Harlan didn't push. He just exhaled once, deeply. Dalton. You ever think about selection programs? She shook her head. I'm not here for that. What are you here for? Mara finally answered. To finish what he couldn't. Harlan didn't ask more. He didn't need to. Sometimes the things soldiers don't say speak loudest. Later that afternoon, as the platoon took a hydration break, Kruger and his buddies circled again, not mocking this time, not loudly at least, but bitterness seeps quiet. Think she's better than us? She's hiding something. She made us look stupid. She acted like she's above everyone. None of it was true, not even close. But insecure people don't see truth, they see threat. And that's exactly how trouble starts in the ranks. That night, a surprise drill was announced. Full gear, full rucks, full exhaustion. A forced 10-mile ruck march followed by night fire drills. This time, fatigue made tempers short, made small insecurities feel big, made resentment boil faster. Halfway through the ruck, Kruger stumbled. Mills fell behind. Several others struggled to breathe, but not Mara. Step after step, she moved like she was carrying nothing, like she'd rucked this terrain 100 times before, like muscle memory guided her more than thought. When Mills tripped on loose gravel, Mara was the one who grabbed his vest and kept him upright. He looked at her, startled. Why'd you help me? You were falling. That's it? Should there be more? She let him go and kept walking, and for the first time, Mills felt embarrassment that had nothing to do with her outperforming him. It was the embarrassment of being rescued by someone he had mocked, someone who didn't rub it in, someone who simply did the right thing. After the night fire, as trainees stumbled back to barracks drenched in sweat, Brenner approached Harlan. That girl, Brenner muttered. Dalton. She's not normal. Harlan's expression stayed neutral. Normal doesn't win wars. You know what I mean. The way she moves, the way she shoots, the way she disappears inside her own head. Harlan looked toward the parade grounds. toward Mara, walking alone, rifle slung, quiet as ever. "She's carrying something," he said. "Something heavy." Brenner shrugged. "Think she's a risk?" Harlan shook his head. "No, I think she's the reason we do this job." The next morning, before formation, Kruger approached Mara again, this time without swagger. "Dalton, look. Yesterday." "You don't have to apologize," Mara said simply. Kruger blinked. "That's not what I expected." Mara tightened her sling, preparing for the day. "You were wrong," she said, not accusingly, not harshly, just a statement of fact. "But people make mistakes when they're scared." Kruger stiffened. "I'm not scared." She didn't argue. Another soldier might have. Mara didn't. "Anyway," she finished. "You don't owe me anything." Kruger swallowed. "Thanks." She nodded once and walked off. No rivalry, no drama, no lingering ego, just closure. During afternoon drills, an equipment malfunction caused a rifle to discharge unexpectedly down the firing line. No injuries, but close. Startled trainees froze, some ducked, some panicked. A few seconds later, Mara was kneeling with the soldier whose rifle malfunctioned, helping him clear it with calm, efficient movements. "Breathe," she said. "You're okay." Her tone was firm, steady, exactly what the young private needed. Harlan saw it, Brenner saw it, even Kruger saw it. Sometimes leadership isn't loud, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's just composure under pressure. At the end of the training week, before dismissal, Harlan addressed the platoon. "Listen up, I want to point something out." He walked down the line, slow, deliberate, until he reached Mara. "This private was mocked on day one," he said, "mocked for her rifle, mocked for her setup, mocked for working differently." The squad shifted uncomfortably. But every marksmanship instructor here recognized her technique. You know why? Silence. Harlan continued. "Because it's the same methodology used in ranger training. It's efficient, it's clean, it's disciplined." Eyes widened across the line. Mara didn't move. Harlan didn't put a spotlight on her past. He didn't expose anything she didn't choose to reveal. He just spoke truth. "And before anyone gets any ideas," he added, "she didn't tell us that. We saw it, we recognized it. Because excellence is visible, whether you brag or not." Then he said the line that froze every whisper of mockery once and for all. "Dalton embodies something rare in this generation of trainees. Quiet competence." He stepped back. "That is the kind of soldier I want on my line." That night, long after lights out, Mara sat alone on the barracks steps, staring at the moonlit training range. A quiet presence approached Master Sergeant Harlan. He sat beside her. "Your brother," he said gently. "He taught you, didn't he?" Mara nodded. Harlan didn't push, but she continued anyway. "He was set to go to selection," she said. "Ranger school. He trained every day, harder than anyone. He wanted it more than anything." Her voice thinned slightly, barely noticeable, but real. "He died before he could try." A long silence settled. "I promised myself I'd finish the path," she said. "Not for glory, not for rank, for him." Harlan looked out into the distance. "You know," he said, "the best rangers I ever trained weren't the loud ones, or the big ones. They were the ones like you, quiet, intentional, purpose-driven." She didn't respond. "You're not your brother," Harlan added softly, "and you don't have to be. But if you choose that path, I have no doubt you'll walk it well." Mara breathed slowly. The cold air felt sharper. "Cleaner. Thank you, Sergeant." He nodded once, then left her under the stars. By dawn, Mara stood again on Range 19, alone, early, calm. She adjusted her sling, checked her sights, prepared her breathing, but she wasn't training to prove anything to the squad anymore. She wasn't training to silence mockery, she was training for something deeper, something older, something carried from another life, a promise, and now people finally understood. She wasn't weird, she wasn't tactical, she wasn't pretending to be elite, she was simply trained, with love, with precision, with loss. And she carried that training into every step. The mockery ended. The respect began, and the quiet soldier with the strange rifle setup had changed an entire platoon without ever raising her voice.